Hey there, Dango Stu here. As you can probably see, we're on the hard stand at the moment, and today's video is about all the work we do here.
It's been a long time. Okay, we're now on the hard stand. I actually think we're pretty much exactly back in the spot where this all started, coincidentally. Anyway, we are going to take that compressor out and I'm going to give that to Adrian to put to good use somewhere else, because it's really nice having the access. After that, I'm going to take the batteries and the shelf out, just give myself the best access I can to the stern gland, because that has to come out, because we've got to get that off to get a new one made as soon as possible so that it's ready for when we launch, which is like 7 days time, 2 of which are a weekend. 6 days, giving us the afternoon on Monday. We're going to undo these. This is coolant. May leak in, bilge pumps are off, so it's not going to pump onto the hard stand anywhere. So let's get going. I actually can't remember what we had originally. I might have to watch an old video myself. We've ultimately got to get this connected back to here to keep the circuit for the coolant complete, but we can figure that out as the week goes on. This is exactly the squeeze I'm trying to avoid. Oh. There's one oil line that goes from the compressor to the block. It's a circuit obviously, in and out, but the other way is through the flange here, so there's only the one line. So we're going to have to get a plug for here. Alright, oil line off. Alright, I'm going to get up to get these because it's super hot down here. Oh. Oi! Not light! Oh. That's quite a good space now. It's what we had originally. Should have left it. Anyway, we also have, I should have known, a little air line going to the tank to measure the pressure in the tank. So let's disconnect that as well. It's funny, when you start your boat, all the things you put in makes you happy, and then once you realise what you do and don't use, all the things you take out to simplify things also makes you happy. Okay, next thing is the batteries and that shelf. Then we'll have good access to the stern gland. In a stroke of genius, the bolts I bought to put this shelf in were these security bit ones. We probably can still zap the nuts off the bottom anyway, but wasn't the best idea. Alright, here we are, day 2. I have the magic tool we need to get this shelf out, which will give us better access to try and get this gland followed out. Alright, this is certainly giving us better access, better view, more light.
The main 3 techniques I'm using to get this out is tighten the nuts on the inside, heat the actual stuffing box as much as I can, and then just start tapping on the gland follower with a hammer, just see if I can shock load it to come out as well.
I've not been having a lot of luck at all. This is really rusted in, this gland follower. This is very, very rapidly getting towards chop it out and redo it territory. But we're not here long enough. We've got to be gone in Monday. We've only got 5 days, so not going to happen. I think I have either been rounding these nuts or maybe damaging the thread. So I'm going to cut this out, put some fresh thread in, Then I'm going to try the oxy instead of just that little map gas. Then I'm going to bring some drill bits tomorrow. Probably drill one hole here and try and put some penetrating oil in. And then another one here that's going to be for a grease nipple. Another option is just to put a cut through it. I mean, we could actually cut a sort of a sector out. But my big worry then is we don't repair it in time to go back in the water. So I think we're going to have to look at a second booking somewhere one day just to tackle this. Previously I just had some bits of threaded rod, but I don't see any reason I can't use all thread bolts. Gauge ring's right. I think all that's gonna get this out is cutting now. I think it's too far gone, unfortunately. Given I've failed miserably with the stern gland, let's push on deleting this air compressor. This means we've got to connect this pipe to here for the cooling water. So this was a straight. I'm going to go a 90 degree, and then we're going to put a 90 degree pipe in here. Alright, we've got to put this in first because we can't rotate it with the other hose tail in. This is the perfect hose that a viewer called Ken sent me from California a long time ago. Going back where it originally was, I believe. Oh, look at that. Pretty good, I reckon. Alright, one step closer. Top the coolant up again now, which is good.
This is the cover plate to blank off the hole where the air compressor was, so it's already got some primer on it. We'll just give it a little bit of the green and let it dry, and then we can pop that on.
Here we are back in the engine bay. My favourite place. Put a bit of rust converter down here. Still feels pretty solid, which is good. I will put the thickness tester on it before we paint though. This is obviously cooled overnight. I'm just going to try and tighten the bolts a little bit more just in case the contractions helped at all, but it's wishful thinking at this point. My goal now is to put a couple of grease fittings in, and that'll hopefully keep us afloat until we can hatch a plan, get another week on the hard stand and purely focus on probably just cutting this out and replacing it with something better. I'm actually going to drill one hole here where the gland follower goes to, and then one back here where we're going to put a grease fitting. Hard bit's going to be that we obviously can't spin a tap here, so I'm probably going to have to use like vice grips and do it quarter turn at a time, which is going to be painful, but that's all right. We'll get there. All right, bits of packing. I thought before we push on, I'll just draw a diagram of the stuffing box I have now, just in case people aren't familiar with them. Half to explain how they work, half to show you the problem I'm having. So what we got here is, this here's the bulkhead. The prop is outside the boat here. This is the prop shaft coming through up to the gearbox and the engine. This bit here is the stuffing box, and this is the bit that's stuck, which is called the gland follower. So this is like a stern gland, a gland follower. What we have inside here are rings of packing, which I can show you. So this is what the packing looks like. Sort of a waxy, square profile, you know, rope almost, I guess you'd say. And you cut rings of this and put it in. And so if you can imagine, these X's are rings of this packing, 3 rings that are around the prop shaft inside the stuffing box or the stern gland. Then the job of this follower is to press against it by tightening the bolts
I've been using these bolts with nuts on the inside to try and push it out, but normally you'd be pushing in with these. Then as you compress them this way, they expand that way and form a seal. The idea is that you make it tight enough to not leak like a sieve, but loose enough that just a bit of trickle of water can run and lubricate and cool it. What I've got is corrosion where this gland follower goes in, meaning it's practically kind of welded itself in. As it rusts, it expands into a contained space. So our option may be just to literally cut it all off, or maybe put just some cuts in this to free up the pressure and get it out. We'll see. But that's how they work. By pushing this way, you're squishing this packing and expanding it sort of, at 90 degrees. What we've also done is drill and tap a grease fitting. The idea being that we can push grease into this space, which you particularly do when you put the boat back on the mooring. You fill this with grease so it doesn't drip, and then when you start up, the prop spins and water trickles a little bit and you get your cooling. Then when you finish, that stern tube greaser, we just give that a turn or two, put some more grease in, and the boat can sit on the mooring without leaking. That's the theory.
Next job was the very tedious process of tapping a thread into that hole. Just because it's against the bulkhead, all I could really do was turn it, half a turn at a time using the vice grips, but we got there in the end.
Alright, stopping there. That's the way we want it pointing. Here's the little stern gland greaser I'm going to be using. mmp-i.com, whatever that is. So let's fill it up. Adrian made me this nice long hose for it. It's actually quite a small diameter compared to the outer diameter. So it won't take much grease to fill the hose, even though it's relatively long. So we'll fill this, fill the hose, refill this, and then hook it all up. Tempted just to mash it in. Let's see what happens. I don't actually think they did a terrible job, to be honest. What I'm going to do is hook the hose Adrian made up. This here is the other end that's going into the stern tube. I'm just going to wind this until grease comes out. Then I'll go and attach that. Then I'll get a sense of how much is left in the dispenser, whatever you call them. Stern tube greaser. Sounds like a good stage name. Also gives me a sense of what the pressure is like on the handle, just pushing it through the tube. So I'll get a feel for when the stuffing box is full. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's push this through the bulkhead, which we're going to just go through here and attach that to the stern tube. I have to paint this again, but what I want to do first is see whether we're going to be cutting this all out in a week's time or whenever we can get back on the hard stand, so I'm not going to rush into that. Nothing catastrophic going to happen in that time. Alright, let's go pump some more grease into there. Looks like maybe this could have been tightened a bit. Anyway, I think it's going to take a while to work its way through, so I think I'll just give it a turn every now and then while we're on the hard stand, and then I'll probably mount this somewhere here-ish, somewhere easy to get to, where you can open the lazarette hatch rather than the full engine hatch at the end of each trip. Could even put it up here somewhere out of the way, but we'll figure something out. With my little bark. How twee. Anyway, it is nice to have that finally. Alright, let's put this prop shaft back. Oh, find my paint mark. There it is. Oh, probably going to need to push it up from the other end, aren't I? Yeah. I won't bore you with the process, but I'm just going to put some grease on all these bolts. Put them all in. Oops, drop them. Bit of an engine service while we're here too. New oil, new filters, get the anodes for the heat exchanger out as well, and new impeller for the jab scope. This hose is the one from the pump to get the old oil out of the engine. It's way too long. So let's trim that to a sensible length. About EA. Which can go in a tub. It was over a foot too long. Oh, that was hard to get started the night.
Everywhere I had rust on the boat, I used the chipping hammer and the wire wheel to get the loose rust off, then used the acid rust converter, then this coat is an epoxy primer, then I put a epoxy barrier coat, a sort of a high build sandable primer on top of that. Below the waterline was, of course, top coated with Antifoul again. This was 3 coats of the Altex number 5. Mrs. Marine helped a lot with this, so that took a lot of the pain away from this job. The final painting job on the boat, for on the hard stand anyway, was to do all the topsides with a new sort of blue colour. Lots more painting to do still inside the boat, but that can happen once we're back on the water.
Alright, down here I've done rust converter, primer, barrier coat, now bilge coat. I actually really liked an idea a viewer had right back in the early days, which was making a little stainless tray to go in here that catches the water from the stern gland and has its own bilge pump that throws it overboard before it even mixes with any of the other gunk from the bilge. So I think I might fabricate something like that, because it will also just protect the steel here as well. It's got a lot going for it, that idea.
I figured it was worth throwing a little bit of rust converter onto the stern gland because it actually does a reasonable job of sealing the rust off and stopping it getting worse, at least in the short term until we figure out what's going to happen for the proper fix.
Oh, hot today. Nice and sunny, which is kind of cool. Oh, travel lift's coming to take my neighbour away. I'm going to put this shelf in now. I've cut it down big enough for both batteries, but gives me better access and visibility of the stern gland. So let's whack this back in. I think that's much better. It's kind of nice sometimes. You do things originally that you think are going to work in theory, and then a bit of experience, and you realise what's going to work in reality. In this case, more than big enough for the 2 starting batteries, but permanent good access to the stern gland. If that works out well and nothing, unexpected comes up, I probably will cut that out at some stage, but it can stay for now.
With the Antifoul, we use different colours for the different coat. So we did a black first coat, a grey second coat, and now a black final coat. Makes it easy to see where you've painted when you're, putting it on, and it also helps you monitor it as it wears off. Once the antifoul was dry, it was time to put on the new anodes.
I was about to sit in the wheelhouse and do a bit of filming, and I noticed how dirty Steve's is. It's not very respectful, is it? Fortunately though, looks like it comes off really easily. And the picture doesn't, that's always a bonus. Need a new battery for the clock too, add that to the list. Oh, there we go, it's not too bad. What is it? 1 AA, we've probably got one of those. A million AAAs, don't know why. No AAs. Alright, I don't have any AA batteries, but I'll do a GoFundMe to get an AA battery sometime soon. Alright, now everything we need to do below the waterline is done. The anodes are on, that was the last job below the waterline. The next job is to put the bilge pumps back in. It's obviously it could be done on the water, but I'd rather have them going before we launch, so let's do that next. Oh, alright, that's what's left of that anode. Gotta say though, these were put on originally, so they're 4 or 5 years old. It's good they're getting eaten away, it means they're working, they're not isolated, not doing their job, but definitely due for replacement. Also, I originally did a bit of an experiment I'd forgotten about, where one set I welded on, one set I think I welded the bolts to the boat. One set I just put them on, the other set I put them on with conductive grease on the bolts. It's interesting, I don't know if I can read anything from it, but all the ones that were bolted on are eaten like that. The ones that are welded on are not very badly eaten at all. Now, is it because of the area? I don't know, be interesting. But makes me wonder whether the stainless bolts and the hull was actually causing the anode to be eaten. If they were all welded on, would it be different? I might try that next. No time to do it this time, but next time I might try weld some of the ones on that were badly eaten this time, see if there's any difference. Just interesting to see. Just cleaning up the board, the bilge pumps are mounted to. Going to keep the brackets because they're not broken. That way I'll have some spares if ever they do break, which they do. So I'll keep the new ones for when that happens. I've just been trimming these wires back, giving them a bit of an acid dip. Alright, let's just check the oil, given I changed the oil and oil filter. It's had time to settle now. Haven't been able to run it, of course, which you normally would, but yeah, it looks alright. It's full at the moment, we'll run it and then check it again. I keep a couple of litres of oil here just for top-ups, nice and easy. But I keep the main 40-litre container, or 20-litre, sorry, down there. 40 mono it is. I didn't replace the fuel filters. There's 2 here, we're running off that one at the moment. You can see a huge colour difference. So I'm going to get 2 new ones of those, and then there's a secondary one just here. I'm not going to do them now, I'm going to do them on the water, because nothing worse than getting dropped back in the water and you can't get the boat started because the fuel's not through yet. So I'll do that when we don't have the pressure of launching again. We'll just be on the mooring, take our time, change them, get it started. I'll also look at that problem where the fuel drains backwards. One solution is just keep the tanks full, keep them pressed up. The other option is a little electric primer pump that we just run for 10 seconds before we fire it up. We'll see. Another thing on the list. Alright, I'm going to leave the 19mm spanner to spare one for the stern gland here. So we've got a couple litres of oil, batteries, 1 spanner. I think that's nice. And I'll mount this negative bus bar here, make that a bit nicer too, but this is all tidied up a bit, which is good. Put these charging leads somewhere, get some cable ties, but it's getting better. Alright, we're pretty much ready to go in the water now. I'm pretty happy with all these repairs. Last week you saw we did a lot of stuff in the water, which, you know, was important things, just cleaning up, reconnecting with the boat, finding what the issues are. and I think we solved quite a few of them while we've been here. More to go, but we're making really good progress. I also feel the boat's going to stay in better condition now for a couple of reasons. One is I'm not going to leave it so long. I'll spend more time on the boat, just keep on top of things. When we leave here, I'll book it in for next year. It was 2.5, almost 3 years, which is way too long for a boat to be in the water and not come out. The other thing is that a lot of the corrosion issues happened while we were heading up the coast. So, you know, a lot of salt water over the deck offshore. Pretty much now it's going to be a river boat. You know, only a fool or a hero would take this boat all the way up to the reef, and I'm no hero. So, yeah, it'll stay here from now on. I've got a bit of electrical work to do in the lazarette. The solar controller had died. I think it got bored of life at sea, one of the party lifestyles, so it turned itself into a smoke machine. The inverter's coming up with an error code, so I've taken that home. We'll see if we can diagnose it or not. That area did cop a lot of water offshore, even with the lazarette dogged down, rubber seal on the boat side and the hatch side. Still got water in there, and a surprising amount of water in there. So once again, when we fix these things, they should be fixed for good, because we're not getting that kind of, you know, sea conditions anymore, not in the river anyway. All right, now I think it's a case of waiting and thinking. Don't think I've missed anything. I think we're ready to go back in the water. I haven't done the Jabsco impeller either. I've really just avoided doing any of the things that might be an issue when we first start up again. Once we're back on the mooring, I'll do those things next week. Looks like we've got some slings now, so won't be long. I think we're all ready to go. Just bringing a boat out now. I presume they'll put us in after that. Just got a tin of Antifoul and a brush here so we can do a little bit of a touch up under these pads when they lift it. Smoke doesn't look good. Bit of a bushfire by the looks of it. It's not black, so I don't think it's a factory fire or anything. Alright, back in we go. Well, thanks for watching. I think we made some pretty good progress. I'm going to look at this inverter in the future, so we can fix that. And I've ordered a low profile RAM for the porta power, so we can have another go at trying to get that stern gland, you know, unstuck and fixed properly finally. Before we get back to Renko though, I need to get a proper commuter boat going. So the next video will be on doing that, and then we'll be back into the stern gland, painting the rear deck, and fixing more of the electrics on the boat. All right, well, take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye.